Good afternoon. Я вас вітаю. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to today's live stream. My name is Alina Miropolsky. I'm a decision-making and spiritual coach. I use holistic approach. And today we are talking about very interesting and personal decision-making topic that is immigration, relocation. Should you move or should you stay? And this video is both relevant for people that are moving from state to state or region or oblast in their own country, or they are relocating in the meaning of immigrating to another country. So it's a big topic, and we can dedicate, I think, books to this topic, but I will try to be brief and informative. I made my notes, so I will not go too deep to one area of this process, one aspect, and forget talking about others. If it will be interesting and helpful, we can continue the discussion, and I can make one more or even two more videos on this topic. Please let me know in comments, ask your questions, and it will give me a better understanding what aspects of this important topic I should cover more. Okay, so immigration is not one size fits all, let's be honest. And I'm even thinking to do an additional video in some more languages that I speak to talk about some very unique nuances for this linguistic or ethnic groups. But anyway, anyone who tells you that you should move or you shouldn't move is giving you a very shallow, I would say, or oversimplified advice that can be very misleading and harmful in some ways. So let's go and talk about it in few categories. First thing to understand that immigration is deeply personal. For some people, immigration opens beautiful doors like career growth, safer life, better education for you and your children, future children, a deeper sense of freedom, self reinvention, new career paths, like many beautiful, interesting things that immigration can give you. For others, it becomes a curse, like it's overwhelming, disappointing, harmful. And we need to say that even for those for whom immigration will be a wonderful decision that will change their life for the best, there will be some challenging aspects. You will feel lonely sometimes. You will be facing some things you don't understand, like the laws, the bureaucracy works different. Learning the new language can be hard and challenging and frustrating at some points. But the question is it a moment in your journey, or is it like the core of your journey? This is probably where the main difference is. So why immigration is so different for other people, and why we can't find this one size fits all answer? Because we all have different goals, fears, emotional needs, family situation. We have like our starting points, like financial, professional, linguistic, tolerance to change, very like significantly from person to person. It's very different for every person. And of course, for example, persons that knows the language of the country where they are immigrating will have a smoother start than someone who maybe knows the alphabet or maybe even doesn't know it. And I've been in both situations. When I was a teenager, my family immigrated to Israel. It's a repatriation migration, but still it has a lot of difficulties. Even if you feel a deep connection to the place where you immigrate from day one, you don't know the language, you don't know all the letters in the alphabet. At least it was like that for me. And it was very, very hard. First years were very hard. And here now, when I immigrated to United States, knowing the language, of course, this move was smoother. Also, it was a much smoother move because I had a higher level of awareness. I was in peace with this decision, fully aligned with this, and I was preparing myself mentally. And I was older. For teenagers, it's always a hard one to move, even if in the long run they will benefit from moving to another country on all levels, in meaning of freedoms, education, finances, everything. But in the moment of immigration, it can be hard for a teenager. So I will not talk about it too much because it's a big topic and very personal for me. And I really feel for all teenagers that are going through immigration. But in the long run, for them, it can be a very good thing, even if they don't feel like that in the moment. So the most important thing is to make a right decision that is good for you and your family, and realize that decision to immigrate comes with a big commitment. Commitment to learn, commitment to be ready to adapt to new things, and commitment to change in some aspects. It's very important to be aware of it. So this is the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing, but basically the most important thing that I want to say in this video is, I think, in my professional experience, as someone who has a degree in behavior science, as someone who works as a decision-making coach, as someone who had a lot of clients when I was working in non-profit organizations that worked with newcomers here in the US. One of the most important things, I think, is to know yourself first before you're making a decision and researching like job markets and statistics and better schools and weather and natural disasters and taxation of the countries. That is also very important. Don't get me wrong here. It's very important. But before you dive deep into this, it's very important to focus on yourself. And you with, she starts with this psychology and personal growth and awareness and all this stuff. I want an answer, like I want the functional answer to immigrate or no. But all is connected. And if we don't know ourselves well, and if we don't know what are our priorities or deal breakers, what is good or bad for us, it will be meaningless to do all the researches about like statistics and taxation and weather and natural disasters and crime rate and all those other aspects that we need to research for immigration goals. So the first question to ask yourself is, what do you want from this move? Why do you want to change your current place of living? And I'll talk about it more even today, but we need to understand, people do not think to move from place where they feel totally like comfortable, safe. Something is pushing us to consider immigration. There should be something that doesn't work for us in a place where we currently live, even if it's our home country. And it's probably a tragedy of immigration, let's be honest. I'm trying always to be very positive. And yeah, I see immigration as positive, and it helps me to be an immigrant, to be more successful, like to have better adaptation in the country where I immigrated. And it helps me to grow, and it helps me to be stronger and more positive and more successful. And it's very important for you too, to see immigration as something positive, as an opportunity for growth and for new beginning. But we need to be also honest with ourselves. There is something that is not quite right for us in the place where we are from. that makes us think and consider immigration. The other thing is, what are my non-negotiables? When I'm moving to another place, what place is not for me? For example, extremely cold weather is not for me. Like, I don't know, very, very northern places that have very harsh winters. It's not for me. Someone can say, no hot weather for me. No, I don't know, maybe something some other aspects. You need to know what is not working for you. Someone says, I don't want to learn a new language. I already know 3, 4, 5 languages. This is enough. I'm not interested to learn one more language. So countries that don't speak any of languages that I speak are not for me. But please be realistic. If you speak only 1 or 2 languages, and those are not like very, very like colonial, we can say, languages that took over many, many countries in their time in history. If you talk small ethnic languages that only your country speaks, and for example, the neighboring country speaks. For example, someone can speak Ukrainian and Polish. Okay, so you have only 2 options: to stay in your country or move to this neighboring country. So maybe you should be more realistic and consider maybe you should learn one more language that is more spread across the countries. It is not very like ethnic related to one specific country language. But if you speak many languages, like 4 or 5, I can understand your desire to stick to them and to learn them better and to start learning one more language and learn it also on a very like basic or intermediate level. Also, we need to think, are there good options within languages that we know? But it's also a very big topic, and we will talk about it some other time. If it will be interesting, let me know in the comments. Another thing is ask yourself, like, what kind of changes I'm open to? What kind of learning I'm ready to take in? Like, am I ready? For example, if I know English, I knew English when I moved to the United States, but it's uncomparable how I speak English now and how I spoke English like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I was willing to learn and improve, understanding local laws, going to work with a local employer, cultural differences, understanding like politics, understanding geography, understanding taxation. All these things I needed to learn, and I was willing to do it, and I was open to do it. And not everyone are, and it's fine, but we need to be honest with ourselves and have this honest conversation with ourselves. Like, am I ready to learn a language? Do I want to dive in and to learn local laws and regulations and culture and go to local workforce or meet local people, or will I be locked in my immigration group community? Because I personally had some experience with clients that were not willing to make any friends and any connections with people that don't speak their first language, like their native language. And they were saying that they are like not as smart, not as nice as we are talking about his or her group. And it was very limiting for this person to adapt to new people, to learn about new cultures, to become a part of a society of a country where they moved. So it's all a big, big thing to think about it. Also, what does your partner and family need in this process? Will it be okay for them to move? For example, if your wife or husband is a doctor and they will need to learn and get licensed in a new country, it's a big thing. Are they ready to do it? Are you ready to support them while they're doing it? Do they know the language of the new country enough to do this? And all those questions have to be discussed. But please be realistic, because sometimes I heard people saying things like, oh, my child is in preschool, so it's not a good time to move to another country. And like, your child will learn the new language at this age very, very easily and will adapt. And even if you move back after a few years living in Canada or United States or Australia, your child will be fluent in English and will be forever grateful for you for this big advantage that knowing English will give to your child. So yeah, there's a big difference when you're not moving because your spouse is a doctor and need to be doing a big requalification and like getting licensed and training and very expensive and long process. And when you say my child is already in preschool, too late. Okay. So immigration is not just about where are you going, it's like why are you going there and why you're not going somewhere else. Okay, so I have a lot of things I wanted to talk about, and this is we're already on 16 minutes. Okay, but let's continue. The third thing I want to talk about is that countries aren't one experience. Like, countries are not homogeneous. Take, for example, US. It's not one place. So if you lived, for example, as a student or for, I don't know, had a job relocation for a year or 2 years ago to one specific location in United States, please be aware it's not the whole United States. It's not homogeneous. Same comes about other countries. For example, we're talking about United States, every state in United States has different taxation laws, political climate. It is very important now in the United States. There's a lot of tension and the big difference between the states. And I don't want to go too deep into the political discussion here, but I need to say the things that you see on TV are barely reflecting what is actually happening in the society. Things that you think are good can be bad, and things that are presented as bad can be good. Everything's like very complicated. But most important, there is a lot of tension between people. And it's an interesting thing that in United States, like, areas are more one party or another party. It's not like everyone mixed together that you have like more or less 50-50 everywhere. It's pretty unique, and you need to consider it and to dive deeper into this about the country where you are moving to. Of course, there are big cultural differences in some countries. For example, if you're relocating to Japan, you need really to learn a lot about this culture and the country and the regions in this country. Let's come back to talking about United States. So school systems. Also, what schools teach children, what books are appropriate for children, what topics are discussed with children at schools. Very different from area to area. You need to learn more about it and think what works for you best. Social norms and attitudes are different. What people wear, how they talk, how they treat each other is very different from state to state. The way people talk in California and how they treat each other is very different from Texas or Alaska or New York or, I don't know, Florida, South Carolina. It's very different. Also, the level of customer service will be very different from state to state. When you go to a restaurant, you will feel it pretty fast. Job markets, very different from every area has some jobs that are like more on demand or less on demand. Unemployment rate is not the same in every state. What else? Weather. Someone enjoys living in Alaska. Someone can't imagine their life north than, I don't know, South Carolina. Someone enjoys living in Hawaii. Someone don't want even to visit that state. It's like very, very different. and the weather is very different. Of course, Michigan has like very snowy, harsh winters, where Florida maybe doesn't see any snowfall in years, and it's very individual. And you need to learn more about it. Also about natural disasters, and like it's a big topic to talk about. So don't ask yourself, what do you like about United States, or what do I like about United States, or should I move to United States? Also, where should I move in United States? United States, Australia, Canada are huge countries. Like I moved cross-country move from West Coast to East Coast by car. It took us like many days of moving, and it was amazing. But it made me realize like how huge this country is when we moved from coast to coast. It was like more than a week of drive. It's like a lot. Of course, you can adjust later and move from state to state, and it's another big topic. But talking like generally, if you think that this country more or less is your good priority, and you got a job offer to some area, you can move there, work there for a year or two, and then adjust your place of living. But if you are deciding where to move, so you need to think closely, where do you move? And don't move automatically because my friend lives there or my uncle lives there, because I know pretty much that, like, I know a number of examples. I don't want to go too detailed because it's personal information of my client, but I know a few examples where people moved to be closer to their relatives, and they barely met twice a year, that you can take a drive, and to meet twice a year. And in the beginning, they were meeting like a lot, like in the first month or two, but then it started, and also the place that their relatives loved and it worked for them, it didn't work for those people, and they needed to move somewhere else. So do your research. While doing your research, I want to mention two things. First of all is do not rely on media. We watch movies and we watch news and we, listen to some podcasts maybe, and some can glamorize the life in their country, and others paint very negative, dark picture, focusing on all negative aspects and crime and problems with, with weather and job and politics and crime and everything. And real life happens somewhere in between. So do your own research. Look at cost of living calculators, school ratings, crime rates. Also, what are the differences in school programs in different countries or in different areas of same country or states in case of United States. Also, when listening to bloggers or podcasters, especially immigrants from your own country, how long before did they move? For first 3 years after I moved to United States, I wasn't even talking about United States. I was talking a little bit about my first impressions and telling many times to people, it's my personal experience of like first impression. It can be very wrong from what it will be in the future. And I barely made any videos, even on my hobby channel that I have about lifestyle and makeup and perfumes and stuff like that, where I talk about like my life. Even there I was very careful not to talk about it, because it takes years to really understand the climate of the country, the nuances, the laws, the people, the inner problems. And I know it very well because I saw some videos of newcomers to Israel, and I was just, oh my God, what are those people telling? What are they talking about? It was very hard to watch because there were so like misleading people that are only planning to immigrate. But it's an interesting thing that I see, that people that are wanting to immigrate, they often are watching videos of people that just immigrated, probably because they want to feel the process of immigration, but they are trying to understand the place and gain information about a new location based on it. And it is very harmful and misleading. So please watch videos about the location of people who live in that country 3, but better 5 years, and not only live, like they moved and they sit at home and they have very like calm and home-based life, but people that are like who worked in the United States, who traveled the country, people like that. Because people that, for example, elderly people that moved to be with their kids, or a woman that moved and she's, for example, she was pregnant when she moved, and she gave birth, and then she's a homestay mom, and basically most of her experience are like family gatherings and grocery shopping and going to park with baby. And she's trying to tell you about the country that she didn't travel to different areas of this country. She never worked in this country, not in a small company, not in a big company, even for, I don't know, 6 months. It never happened. This information this person will provide you, even with best intentions in heart, can be very misleading. I will put it like that. Be careful whom you're taking your advice from, even when we're talking about friends or family members, but especially Facebook groups and forums. And I see it a lot, and it's just sad to see how often people, instead of doing their research or hiring a coach that will save them, I don't know how many thousands of dollars, making their decisions based on conversation on Facebook forums, where they ask, what is the best state to move to with a family with kids? Or what is the best city in your state for family with kids? Do you really believe that people with kids don't live in all 50 states? And there is no good option in most of them, at least one city in most of them, where family with kids can be fine? But at that moment, it sounds like a good question to ask. Where should family with 2 kids move in United States? So people that you are asking, they do not know you. They don't know who you are, what are your values, what is your family, what are your preferences. They don't know. Their lifestyle may be very different from your lifestyle. As I told you, one can enjoy living in Alaska, another one cannot imagine his or her life somewhere else than, I don't know, South Carolina or Georgia or, I don't know, New York. It's very, very individual thing, and we need to be aware of it. And you don't know their full story. They're recommending you something and they're saying, our family is so happy here in this town, in this state. I highly recommend you moving here. Or even it can be your schoolmate that you were friends, like, 20 years ago, and he or she lives in a specific state, and say, listen, this is the best state or the best country to live. And they can be very happy and really inviting, and it works for them. They are honest. I'm not saying people are dishonest. By the way, some people are unfortunately intentionally dishonest and do want to harm you, and they give bad advice on purpose because they think it's funny. And you can make a life decision choice based on it. You can be biased about things because someone told you something that they know that it's not true, and they're telling it to harm you intentionally. So it's important to be aware of this too. But let's talk about the honest people that just maybe it worked for them, but it's not for you. Another thing, someone can tell you something very negative about very negative experience because they never truly tried to adapt. They didn't want to learn a new language. They struggled to integrate into society. I met people here in the United States, and again, I'm not going too much into details because it's very personal, that lived for more than 10 years and were struggling with English and working barely part-time, but not willing to invest their time to learn the language. This is crazy, but it can be someone's decision. Not that I decide not to learn this language. But for some reason, they just do not do it. They don't do it. They don't speak the language. They don't learn the language. And they can live like that for 10 or even 20 years. I know someone that lived here for many years and barely spoke any English. And like and it was a young person. I'm saying it's not someone who, immigrated here in the late 60s. By the way, someone can give you advice online, and they did immigrated in their late 60s to be with their grandchildren and children, and they never worked in the United States. They watch Russian or Hebrew or Spanish news. They don't understand, like they cannot listen to original, for example, Pentagon or State Department or White House briefing to understand what are the officials really saying. They need to read or listen interpretation in their language that will explain them what to think about briefing of this or other branch of government. Okay, so, and they will jump into Facebook group to give you advice. So be very mindful about it. It's really important and painful thing. That's why I'm talking about it so detailed. It's really a big thing. So a few things I want to say about a green card, about United States specifically. Now it's October, a time of green card. Every year United States has green card lottery. It's very important, and it's a very good opportunity to get your legal way to immigrate to United States. This year, until 2025, there's unfortunately the Democratic Party led government shutdown that is not ended yet. And I'm not going to discuss if it's good or bad or what do they want. It's a different topic, and it's not my area of expertise and interest. But I want to tell you that green card lottery, you need to check when it opens, because I think now it still didn't open. There is a delay because of this government shutdown. Please continue monitoring and check when it will open. Don't forget to have a new photo you never used in previous applications, fresh photo you made this year. Submit everything on time. Don't wait till last days of application. Triple check all your answers. It's a pretty short questionnaire. And most important, be aware that even if you win, it's only a beginning of the process, and you will need to invest a lot of time, money, and effort later. Like, the application is free, but when they say you win, it doesn't mean that you can pack your bags and come here. It means that you need to provide all your documents, and there is a lot of documents that you need to provide, and they need to be translated to English and verified by a notarius. It's like a big process. It will require some financial investment, so expect about $1,000 from one family member, more or less, and all these documents and time, and you need to go to different places and organizations, like bureaucracy, and all this will be involved. You will need to get different documents, official documents about yourself, and provide to United States immigration. So be aware of it. And what else I wanted to say? So should you consider immigration? If you feel that you're thinking about immigration, sadly, as I told in the beginning of my video, there should be something that is making you think that you should immigrate. And keep it in mind, like, be honest with yourself. What is pushing me to immigrate from my country? And if it's a reasonable, pretty big reason, so maybe consider immigration, do your research, hire your decision-making coach if needed. Also, unless you're immigrating from communist or dictatorship country, be aware that immigration is not a forever decision. It's reversible. And if you will decide that it's not for you, especially after you got your citizenship, I don't recommend to move back a year after you immigrated. But after you got your citizenship and you have rights to live in this new country where you immigrated. You have this flexibility now, this option. You can always come back to your home country. It's not a forever decision. So it's not as scary as you can imagine. Anyway, I have also 2 articles on my website about immigration. I will leave the links to those articles in my description box of this video. And please feel free to reach out and schedule an appointment with me to talk one-on-one about your immigration journey, your dilemmas, and we can do it together. I want to remind you that I'm fluent in Hebrew, Russian, Ukrainian, and English. So please feel free to reach out and let's work together. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.